Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Porch. You can tell things are a little bit different this time around. I got the setup a little bit different, as you might have seen in some previous videos. I had this table here sitting behind my treadmill, which is this way, my right, your left. And I was trying to figure out a way to make it work, and here we are. Finally got this all set up, so I'm going to be trying this setup for the near future. We'll see how well it goes. As you can tell, I kind of changed things up a lot in terms of where I sit, where I think is comfortable, where I think is the most presentable. What am I saying? So hopefully you guys will enjoy the new angle. I know some of my commenters, well, are you ever going to go back on the real porch? Yes, I will eventually go back on the real porch, maybe. But that would be a long time off because it's now close to Halloween and it's already snowed here. So yeah, there's that. So without further ado, let's go ahead, get into some Week 8 predictions for the NFL season. And let's start off with tonight's game. We have the Atlanta Falcons playing at the Carolina Panthers. Now, this game is between two teams who are going in very different directions right now. The Falcons keep finding new ways to lose football games. They literally lost a game last week by scoring a touchdown. Kid you not, they scored a game-losing touchdown last week. That is how pitiful the Atlanta Falcons have become and how good they have become at losing. Meanwhile, the Panthers are 3-4, doing much better than anyone expected in their first year under Matt Rule. Teddy Bridgewater has been really good for them as a sort of duct tape quarterback, sort of a bridge to whenever they find their true franchise guy. And it seems like their production at the running back position hasn't been overly dramatic with the loss of Christian McCaffrey, and he's expected to be back next week most likely. So I have in this game the Carolina Panthers beating the Falcons. I think that the Falcons will just throw away another game somehow, and I really do not trust them against the Panthers. I know it's kind of crazy. I know some people are going to pick the Falcons because of that offense. I understand that. They have a good offense, but that defense is one of the worst in the league, if not the worst in the league, right up there with Dallas. So I'm going to take the Panthers to win this game by a field goal. Next up, we have one of the most anticipated matchups of the week. AFC North rivals, the Steelers going against the Baltimore Ravens. Both of these teams have looked pretty decent to start the year. Granted, the Ravens have sort of played some cupcake teams, but to be fair, they've pounded the crap out of them. Whereas the Steelers last week had a really nice win against the Titans. Granted, they kind of got lucky in the end there when Gostkowski missed that field goal to not force an overtime. But I like everything about this Steelers team. Big Ben looks to be back, and not better than ever, but he's definitely back. Way better than Mason Rudolph or Ducky Hodges could ever be in this offense. And we still haven't seen Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense sort of perform in the big one yet. We saw that in, week 3, week 4, something like that, where they got pounded by the Chiefs. And that Chiefs team doesn't have anywhere near the defense that this Steelers team does. They have one of the best, if not the best, run defense in the league coming up against a premier running offense in the Ravens where everybody can run the ball. And this is going to be a really good game to watch. If you have it, I would suggest watching it at the noon slot. I'm going to give this one to the Steelers by a field goal. I like their defense a little more than the Ravens, and I think that they'll be able to... I trust in their offense a little more. I've seen them play against some decent opponents this year. Next, we've got a game that'll probably go under the radar for a lot of people, and that is the Rams versus the Dolphins. This will probably be the case because everyone, it seems, has written off the Dolphins so far this year as just sort of whatever, but honestly, for them to be 3-3 at this point in the year is pretty impressive on their part. I really like Brian Flores as a coach. I think that he's done really good with this Dolphins team so far. And they are starting Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback this week, and this move makes perfect sense to me. But the Rams are also doing pretty good so far this year. Their offense is clicking. Their running game has been very good. Jared Goff has done what he's needed to for this team. And I do think it's going to be an interesting matchup on that end because we know the Dolphins like to run a lot of man coverage. But I'm still going to give the edge to the Rams in this game. I like their offense a little more. That defense is really good. Aaron Donald is he's got to be at least talked about in the MVP conversation. I know that defensive guys, it's very hard for them to break into that, but I think he should at least get a look in the defensive conversation, or in the MVP conversation, rather. So I have the Rams winning this game by a touchdown. Next, we have the Jets at the Chiefs. Chiefs are going to win. What else do you want me to say about this one? And then we have the Vikings going against the Packers. Packers are going to win. What else do you want me to say about this one? Okay, I guess I'll say a little more about it. The Vikings have looked really bad to start the year. That offense hasn't been able to do anything, it seems, while the Packers are looking like a top 5 team in the league. I'm going to take the Packers to win this game by 10 points, only because it's a divisional matchup and they'll play them hard. Next up, we have the Colts going against the Lions. The Colts, at the start of the year for me, looked really good, but I think that we're starting to see the limits that Phillip Rivers puts on your offense. He is, I would describe, somewhere in between a good and a great quarterback. He does some really great things, some really wow, how did you just do that? And then there's also some really, wow, why did you do that moments with Phillip Rivers. He's kind of all over the place. He's going to win you some games for sure, but he's also going to lose you some games. There's no denying that. But they have a pretty easy game this week against the Lions. I don't think there's any way that the Lions could win this one. Matt Stafford's been playing well. I feel so bad for that guy. He's been stuck there for years. So I'm going to take the Colts in this game by 10 points. Next up, we have the Raiders going out to Cleveland playing against the Browns. Now, last week at the beginning of the game, or not the beginning, but more in the beginning of the game, Odell Beckham Jr. Tore his ACL on a really bad throw that Baker threw. Really bad ball. And Baker at that point looked like he should have been benched, honestly. He was playing, frankly, like garbage. He was missing throws all over the field, looking really inaccurate. And after that, I don't know if it's just because Odell got hurt, whatever, he came out and that sort of lit a match underneath him and he torched. Granted, it was a Bengals defense that's really bad, but he torched a Bengals defense and sort of won the game for them, honestly. I'm not so sure how well they'll be able to do that against the Raiders this week. The Raiders have at least a better defense than the Bengals, although basically anyone in the league has a better defense than the Bengals at this point. But the Raiders' offense has been pretty good, honestly, this season. Derek Carr's done what he has needed to do for this team. Josh Jacobs, as always, has been really good at running back. And there's always the deep threat with Henry Ruggs, the third. That's when he's playing, obviously. And out of nowhere, Nelson Aguilar has sort of taken over as wide receiver 1 this year when everybody thought it would be Ruggs. But it's 2020, man. Anything can happen at this point. So while this is a really tough game to judge, I think that these teams are pretty evenly matched, honestly. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Browns. I like their offense a little more. I like Kevin Stefanski as a coach, although I do think that John Gruden is going to game plan really well. He always game plans really well against people, matches up against opponents pretty well. But I think pure talent-wise, the Browns are going to find a way to get it done. I have them winning this game by a field goal. Next up, we have the Titans going to Cincinnati playing the Bengals. Now, the Titans have played really well to start off the year. They had their first loss last week against the Steelers. They sort of rallied back in that game after being down by, I think it was 20-something points at some point in that game, 21, I think. And they only lost by a Gostkowski missed field goal. The Bengals are a tough out, however. Whenever they have Joe Burrow at quarterback, he makes them a tough out. For my money, I think it's either, Justin Herbert's looked really well this year too, but I would say right now he is probably the offensive rookie of the year front runner. He looks really good right now, especially under a really terrible Bengals team. They are just awful, honestly. And if you can't tell, I'm going to give the Titans a win here. I'm going to give this game to them by 10 points only because they have Joe Burrow on the other side of the ball. Next up, we have the Patriots going against the Bills, an AFC East matchup. Now, in years past, this game would have been pretty cut and dry. We would pick the Patriots to win, move on with our day. That is not the case, however. The Patriots offense looks abysmal. Cam got his butt kicked by the virus, as is pretty clear. He's played really terribly since he came back from it. And I think that while the Bills have had some pretty questionable games here in the past couple weeks, they barely beat the Jets. They got shellacked the week before, was it, by the Chiefs? I do think overall this team is better slightly than the Patriots. They definitely have a better offense than the Patriots, even with the struggles that they've been having, especially with Josh Allen, who was looking like an MVP candidate at the beginning of the year. I'm going to take the Bills to win this game by a field goal, mainly because it's a divisional matchup, so they're going to play each other tough regardless. Next up, we have the 2-4 Chargers playing against the 2-4 Broncos. And these are two very different 2-4 teams. Geez, take a shot every time I say 2-4. Chargers have sort of been on an upward trend, I guess, if you could call a 2-4 record that. They've had some really close games with Justin Herbert as quarterback. They're kind of like the Falcons in that they always find a different way to lose, it seems. Meanwhile, the Broncos were supposed to be the standout team this year, and that has not happened. They've been ravaged by injuries. It's been an ugly sight to see. And because of those injuries, I'm going to give this game to the Chargers. I have them winning this game by a field goal. Once again, because it's the divisional matchup, it's going to be tough. And they're playing in Denver, so there is a little bit of a home field advantage there for the Broncos. Next up, we have another divisional matchup. This must be just the week of divisional matchups. My goodness. Between the 49ers and the Seahawks. This should be a game that everybody watches. These two teams are always really fun to watch go up against each other. Last week we had what I would say is game of the year in the Cardinals versus the Seahawks, and I expect no different this week. The 49ers are starting to weather the ship of their injuries, and I think that a 4-3 record is really good considering all the circumstances and what they've had to go through so far this year. Meanwhile, Seattle has looked pretty dang good. Russell Wilson, I think, has to be the front runner for the MVP at this point in the season. You could maybe make the argument for Aaron Rodgers as well. I think those two are sort of in categories of their own right now, and then everybody else is down here. And because of Russell Wilson and what he is able to do, and because the 49ers are still sort of not with their best personnel, I'm going to pick Seattle to win this game by, you guessed it, a field goal. And they're also playing at Seattle, which helps out a lot with home field advantage. We've then got the Saints going up against the Bears, two lost teams that are very different from each other. I think that the Saints are sort of contenders, I guess, while the Bears are pretenders in every sense of the word imaginable. Sure, that defense is solid, it's sound, but that offense is just abysmal. It is so bad. Even with Nick Foles at quarterback, it is very hard for them to find offense, it seems, when they come up even a hint of a defense. Meanwhile, the Saints are still, it seems like they're sort of running in place almost. They're 4-2, but it's been sort of an ugly 4-2, I guess is the word for it. They definitely are not looking like the Saints of the past, and I think a large part of that is due to Drew Brees. He definitely, you can tell, just there's some throws where he just wants to get it downfield, but he knows he can't. And they're also still missing Michael Thomas. I don't think he's playing this week, so that's also going to be a pretty big bummer for them. Still with that, they're playing the Bears, and while they have a pretty decent defense, I think Sean Payton will be able to game plan for that just fine. So I'm going to take the Saints to win this game by a touchdown. And then the Sunday night game, we have the NFC East matchup nobody wants to watch. The Cowboys going up against the Eagles. Oh, man, this is going to be an awful game to watch. It's the Sunday night game, so I feel like everyone has to watch it, but man, I don't want to. This is... Anytime an NFC East matchup comes up, I just sort of hang my head and ask, Lord, why have you done this to us? Why have you forsaken us, showing us NFC East opponents on primetime schedule? Honestly, any NFC East game that gets like national attention should just be flexed to somewhere else where nobody has to watch it. The Cowboys got smacked by the football team last week. It's an ugly sight to see, really bad. They are completely lost right now. Mike McCarthy honestly might get fired after a year. I'm going to say it. They haven't lived up to their expectations, to Jerry's expectations, which are always going to be the Cowboys' biggest expectations to live up to. And the Eagles, just injuries after injuries after injuries. That seems to be how it goes over there. They need to take, I don't know what their training staff or their medical staff looks like over there, but they need to clear house, because obviously there's something going on there with the medical staff. Everybody's getting hurt. I don't know what else to say about them. They're just awful. Both these teams are awful to watch. Don't watch this game, please. Anyway, I'm going to take the Eagles in this one by us. I don't know. It doesn't even matter, honestly. It doesn't matter. Eagles by something. Hopefully this game goes by quick, dude. And lastly, the compelling Monday Night Football matchup, as always, is on Monday Night Football. We have the Buccaneers going up against the New York Football Giants. Pretty easy one here. Tampa's going to win. Yeah. They got AB. I don't know if he's playing this week, but he's there, so that's a scary team now. I mean, I already thought they were sort of a Super Bowl team before, could make it to a conference championship, could make it to a Super Bowl. And I think with AB now, you have AB, Godwin, and Evans there. That's a pretty damn good trio. That might be the best wide receiver trio in the league at this point, honestly. And Tom Brady, I think, made a deal with the devil to make sure that he keeps his arm strength forever, because last week he was throwing bombs. It was crazy. Anyway, Buccaneers are going to win this game by, I don't know, 14 points probably. It'll probably be more than that, but that's usually the largest margin I'll give to a team, 14, just because this is a professional league after all, and teams are supposed to play like professionals, but I don't know. The two New York teams really love to not play like that. And then we have 4 teams not playing this week on their bye. We have the football team, sadly the Arizona Cardinals. They're probably my favorite team in the league to watch right now. I would say besides the Packers, because I am a Packer fan, if there was any team I was going to root for this season, it'd be the Cardinals. I love everything about them. I've gushed about them before. Sorry, I'm kind of riding on them a little hard there. Duval is also not playing this week, the Jaguars. And it looks like Minshew might be in trouble there over at Jacksonville. He might lose his starting job to Mike Glennon, of all people. And then the Texans are on a bye, which is probably good for them. Texans, while you were on this bye week, you had better be talking to Eric Bieniemy. Please, if you want to salvage Deshaun's career in any way possible, sign, hire, whatever, Eric Bieniemy. Throw as much money as you need to at him. Get Eric Bieniemy at all costs. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of this setup. This setup's probably going to be here to stay for, well, until I figure out one that suits me better, I guess. But I like the setup here that I have now. Also, not sure if you can tell now, but I am using a different camera. So in weeks past, I was using my phone as the camera, and I didn't want to use it anymore. I was just tired of it. I have it on a tripod, obviously, and it was sort of tilting it to the side, and this tripod kind of sucks. It doesn't have a level measure in it, the little bubble. So it's really hard to tell when it's level or not. And now I have a GoPro Hero 5 in there. I had to sort of mess with the settings a little bit. I got it a while back, but I had to mess with things. It looked really bad. So I turned the sharpness down, turned the ISO down, basically turned down all the settings like that. So hopefully it looks about the same, maybe better. I'm not sure if it'll look as sharp as the phone does, because the phone actually has a pretty decent camera when you give it some good light. Anyway, long spiel at the end of the video is over. Thank you guys once again so much for watching. If you're interested in more NFL content, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Expect to see another video around Monday or so, maybe even Saturday, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, thank you guys once again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.